It's the reason you read all those columns. It's the reason you listen to all those podcasts. It's the reason you watch me and Graham sit in fat suits, Taylor get an ice bath, and Ricky Hollywood damn near break her hand on a piece of plywood, okay? This is winning time. Put that coffee down. Coffee is for closers. For the next 3 weeks, you get nothing stronger than ginger ale. Because as my friend Adam Rank says, the decisions you make between now and week 16 will haunt you for the rest of your life. Or at least until August. Justin, let's start the show.
Big welcome to NFL Fantasy League One, presented by Geico. Graham Barfield, Taylor Bisciotti, and of course you just met Marcus Grant, and I am Adam Rank, and I am fired up because of Marcus's message.
And I'm going to put my coffee down. Yeah. Apparently coffee is for closers.
Yes, I'm the only one that message pertained to, but yes, thank you. It spoke to me. So y'all feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Absolutely.
We're feeling good, looking good.
Feeling good.
You know who's feeling good and looking good right now? Mitch Trubisky. Oh yeah. At the end of Thursday's show, who said I have confidence in Mitch
after
Trubisky?
I had to ask him
was
5 times. Literally, I was like, "Can you please tell me? Do you think he's going to get the job done?" He's like, "Well, I'm not going to say that."
First of all, I
don't know. I can't say for sure.
Listen,
I can't.
if you knew anything about panache, you knew I was doing that for the drama. And that's exactly what I did. There was no drama on Thursday night.
I thought Panache was like an Italian opera singer.
I was waiting for some fancy dessert.
Listen, first of all, I did it. Listen, I'm a showman. That's what I do. That's what people are here for.
So is Trubisky, apparently.
Listen, and we're going to show some Mitch Trubisky footage. Let's do it, because he was amazing against the Cowboys. I'm still a little bit bummed that the Cowboys had those garbage time shenanigans to make it look like it was a close game, because this was not.
It was not.
And Mitch did something that nobody has done in NFL history. If I can find my notes on this, because it was brought to my attention. He was the first player in NFL history to complete 70% of his passes on at least 30 throws, throw 3 touchdown passes, rush for 50 yards, and rush for a touchdown. And you know what?
Are we in an alternate universe right now? He's Lamar Jackson. Adam is usually the one that is always talking smack about Mitch Trubisky. So what is going on here?
Listen,
Why is he all of a sudden allowed to jump on this Mitch Trubisky bandwagon?
The game that he had, again, and I don't want to belabor this too much, because I know the fantasy playoffs. Here's the thing. Against the Rams, it was awful. I have not seen LA has not seen a performance like that since Jesse Spano was in Showgirls. It was not great. And you know what? But now he's looking like a superstar. And we'll see. If he does it, he's got to do it against Green Bay on the road. But let's talk about our Fantasy League One standings. Pretty much cemented right now. Candace and FaZe Clan will move on to the Celebrity Division the finals of the Celebrity Division next week to play.
Taylor,
I will likely
Taylor's convinced that fantasy footballers are going to score zero points this week.
It does look like I'm going to beat Graham. So really, I am in that second place spot. And if we were talking about real football right now, which is what we should be doing, when you beat a player head-to-head.
You don't want to be on this fantasy football show? Is that what you're saying?
I do want to be in this fantasy football show. But when you beat a player, a team head-to-head, just like I beat the fantasy footballers. So really, I should be moving on to the playoffs, and the fantasy footballer should take a back seat.
Well,
nobody does it on how many points you've scored. Like you think you go
in a perfect
through
world,
and
but we do. You know, we sit next to the development team, and we can bring this up in the offseason. Well, maybe, come to the second floor, and you can have that conversation. But let's take a look at the matchups Sunday, and it's kind of funny because there is a playoff preview. I could help get Taylor possibly keep her dim hopes alive for the fantasy playoffs, or I could just lay down and take the finger poke of doom like I was Kevin Nash.
You would never do that. You have too much pride.
You know what you should do is you should bench all your players so they don't know what's coming in the playoffs.
Yeah, kind of mix it up. And speaking of benching players, we're going to bring out one of our favorite actually, we've done this before. It's a segment we like to do called Start or Park. And some people have some decisions here in the playoffs, and we have identified some of the most difficult matchups. And let's start at the quarterback position. Baker Mayfield, who... It's been kind of an uneven season. Are we starting or parking Baker this week?
I'm only parking him just because there's probably better streaming options available on your waiver wire, like Sam Darnold, Ryan Tannehill, all of these guys. Maybe even Ryan Fitzpatrick is a better play than Baker Mayfield today. And Odell Beckham, there was a report that just came out that Beckham has been dealing with some sort of groin issue that's limited all year. Yeah, and he's been less than 100%. So I think there's probably just better options.
I agree. And adding on to that, you saw that Baker came up on the injury report as well with that kind of like he has a messed up hand right now. And so I just don't feel confident. And I also think that Cincinnati's defense, while it has been very bad this season, in the last couple of weeks, it's really it's really improved. And I think that you really can't count on Baker Mayfield and those receivers to really do something when they do have such a banged up offensive line.
One team that has a banged up offensive line, the Atlanta Falcons, but Devonta Freeman looks like he has a great matchup this week. So Marcus, what are you doing with him?
I think you're flexing him. The thing that has helped Devonta Freeman this season is the fact that he's mostly been a pass catcher. I mean, I know we're showing him running here, but I think it's this part right here, him catching the football, that's really helped keep his fantasy value afloat, in large part because the Falcons have been playing from behind so much. Now, this one I could see being sort of a back and forth game, but as you mentioned, that offensive line has struggled. They're not blocking well, so I think Freeman as a pass catcher is what gives him some value.
This matchup is amazing, too. Like, the Panthers' defense has started to really fall apart in recent weeks. They're, like, dead last in all, like, rushing categories.
Look at what they allowed against Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis.
Right. Of course. So it seems like we're on board with Devonta Freeman. Well, what about Tevin Coleman? Anybody want to start?
I'm not doing it.
I'm not
doing it.
I'm out.
Yeah.
There's just too many. There's too many running backs on that team. You can't rely on him to be getting the amount of volume that you can as opposed to another starting running back on another team where they are going to be getting the majority of the volume. I'm parking him.
You know what's going to happen, though? Because we're all off on him, he's going to go for like a $110.
Well, everybody's picked up Mostert or something.
Yeah, so Coleman got benched last week for Mostert, and they're going to get Matt Breida back this week. And yeah, it's just only inevitable that Coleman scores 2 touchdowns.
Just
lock in 2 touchdowns.
And the Saints have the 6th ranked run defense, which is kind of a surprising stat. You don't necessarily think of them as having such a strong defense, but they really do when it comes to the run.
Especially against the run, yeah.
Some of their worst run defense games have actually been in division. Outside of division, they've been just locking people down.
They've been shutting people down. You know what's funny? Somebody on Twitter mentioned that they wish that Tariq Cohen played for the 49ers. And I'm like, that is the worst place.
Why? So they can have a 4-man committee?
Yeah, so he could get like 5 carries, and it's just frustrating. But anyways, let's talk about another quarterback that everybody has been streaming recently. And Graham, I don't know if you mentioned him a moment ago, Ryan Tannehill against the Raiders today.
Yeah, this is such a good spot. I mean, the Raiders have just given up so many big fantasy performances to opposing quarterbacks since their bye. They've given up a top 8 fantasy performance in 5 of their last 7 games, and in that span, like, no team has a worse passer rating, has allowed more fantasy points per pass attempt. I just think this is just such a good spot for Tannehill. My only concern here, guys, is Derrick Henry's the focal point of this offense. The Titans just don't air it out that much. Like, Tannehill is only throwing the ball like 25 times per game, so volume could be a concern here. He's going to have to get it done with high efficiency, but this is just such a good spot.
I completely agree. I was going to say the efficiency thing is kind of what I was going to mention, too, because that's if they're not throwing it a lot, you need his receivers to get yards after the catch or get in the end zone or something there.
See, but I actually like the Raiders to win this game, which means there could be some garbage time opportunities for Ryan Tannehill. Let's talk about that. Marcus mentioned it in the cold open. Sometimes these players, you'll be sitting there for 3 quarters, you'll be stressing out, but then comes garbage time, and one of the players I'll be looking at in garbage time this week is going to be Kenny Golladay. And I know a lot of people will probably be a little bit apprehensive about starting him this week because they look at the Vikings defense and they're like, that's a good defense, I don't want to play them. But one spot that you can actually capitalize against the Vikings on, if I'm saying this correctly, you want to play pass catchers against the Vikings. They've allowed the 4th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers over the last month. This is going to be a great chance. And anybody who's a Bears fan is in the David Blau business. We want to see him go out there and smash. And Marcus, who are you looking at in garbage time?
I'm looking at Darius Geis, and like it's sort of a double-edged sword. So I think that he's going to be effective against the Packer defense, but the other part of it is I don't know that Washington can keep Green Bay down, right? If this becomes a battle of Washington's run game versus Green Bay's passing game, I could see Aaron Rodgers going out and carving up this Washington defense for 2 or 3 quarters, but in the end, Bill Callahan just wants to run the football. Like, I can see a situation, they get down for a couple of scores, they don't trust Dwayne Haskins, and at some point Bill Callahan's like, you know, let's just run the ball and get on the bus and get out of here.
I think he's done that a lot this season. Taylor, who are you looking at?
I am looking at Robbie Anderson, and simply because no one is allowing more touchdowns to receivers than the Dolphins, and he's in just such a good spot this week because they are playing the Dolphins and they give up so many points to receivers, to quarterbacks. So Sam Darnold's going to be in a great spot, which in essence is going to put Robbie Anderson in a great spot. He's had 17 or more fantasy points in 2 straight games. And again, they're allowing 1.8 touchdowns per game to receivers. I think he's in a great spot this week.
How annoying is it that Robbie Anderson, like after basically not doing anything, and everybody drops him now in the back half of the season, he gets in these good matchups and he's finally coming to life.
Yeah, and Lev Bell is hurt, so you know that they're not going to be relying as much on their run game. So I just think that he couldn't be in a better spot this week.
As I said on Good Morning Football on Saturday, tell Rolling Stone my final words were, I'm starting Robbie Anderson. I feel pretty good about it. I'm not feeling good about the guy that you think is going to thrive in garbage time.
Really? Okay.
No!
Yeah, Matt Ryan, he's been our guy in garbage time all year.
Yeah,
when the Falcons have trailed, he has just basically thrown the ball over 45, 50 times per game. This week, he's got all of his guys back, Adam. He's got Austin Hooper back.
The band's back together.
Julio Jones is back, healthy. He's got all of his weapons at his disposal. And we mentioned a little bit ago with Devonta Freeman, like this Panthers defense in general is just leaking points all over the field. And, you know, at home with all the weapons back, I think Matt Ryan can do some things here.
Yeah, well, that remains to be seen. There's no way that I'm going to be trusting Matt Ryan at any point this season. But let's talk about some players we do trust, because it's time now for Fantasy Insurance presented by Geico. And we'll be talking about some tight ends that we can trust. Graham, why don't you get us started?
Sure. George Kittle, you can trust him every single week. And I just think this is an amazing spot for him, because think about what the Saints will want to do in this game. They're going to let Marshawn Lattimore travel with Emmanuel Sanders, and their boundary corners have played pretty well recently. So I think they're going to try to force everything towards the middle of the field. And that's obviously where George Kittle operates. And after bad games in Kittle's career over the last couple years, he's always bounced back. He's gone over 70 yards in every bounce back game he's had in his career. I just think this is just such a good spot, especially if the 49ers start trailing in this game. They have to throw a little bit more than usual. Kittle should have a huge game.
Absolutely. Marcus, it's the holiday season, so who are you looking at?
Rudolph the Red Zone Reindeer, of course. I mean, the guy's been fantastic. He's actually been fantastic going back to even before Thanksgiving. Look, the Vikings probably are not going to have Adam Thielen. It looks like he's going to miss another game there. So a lot of the targets have pretty much been funneled between Stephon Diggs and Kyle Rudolph at the same time. That Lions pass defense rather has not been particularly great. So I think Kyle Rudolph going to continue to smash right now.
You know, I'll jump in here right now and say a little something about Travis Kelce, a player that, as I was looking over my lineups over the weekend, just being thankful that I have a player like Kelce that I have not had to go into the dumpster fire. I think that obviously I overpaid a little bit by drafting him in the first round, but not having to worry about going to the waiver wire every week except for week 12 when the Chiefs were on a bye. And the matchup against the Patriots, it's going to be tough, but there's no way I would ever consider benching Travis Kelce. Taylor?
No, I don't know if that was a subtle dig at me, because I have had to go to the waiver wire to pick up a tight end, and I'm sure that that's why you eventually went right in front of me. But I am going with Jacob Hollister, who I did pick up off the waiver wire, but he's ranked 13th among tight ends this season. He's had 10 or more fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, and 6 or more targets in 4 of his last 6 games. Obviously, Russell Wilson throws more end zone touchdowns and end zone passes than any other quarterback in the league, so this puts him in a great spot today for his matchup against the Rams.
And that was Fantasy Insurance presented by Geico. And Taylor, it was just right here on the card. There was no slight to you. You were not last because you dropped Hunter Henry or anything like that. But you know what? It's Sunday, which means it's Sunday Funday. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about that after the break. So stick right here. You're watching NFL Fantasy League One presented by Geico. But now we're going to happy chat a little bit.
He's always making fun of your
Time now for 15 minutes to kickoff, presented by Geico. Here are your Week 14 notable actives and inactives. Marquise Hollywood Brown is active for the Baltimore Ravens, but some big-name players out this week, starting with Will Fuller, who is out with a hamstring injury. T.Y. Hilton out with a calf. Le'Veon Bell, that came across over the weekend. He is out with an illness. And, of course, we got a lead on this one. Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner will both be out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that was 15 minutes to kickoff, presented by Geico. And let's take a look right now. Tom Pelissero hurting with the Le'Veon Bell news, taking to Twitter, asking Rashad Penny, Benny Snell Jr., David Johnson, who are the 7% of the population?
Yeah, right.
He was picking David Johnson against the 5th-ranked Steelers run defense.
I wonder if Powell was available, because I might start. Would you start Snell or Powell this week?
I have Snell above Powell. If you go to my Twitter page right now, I have a big greater than, less than thing. I have Powell over a bunch of
I've noticed that. I noticed that. Yeah, you know, I sneakily like him.
You didn't like him earlier this week when I'm like...
I didn't, but now as
I think we've come around to it.
You convinced him.
Yeah, I've sort of
It's like fireball shots. You're like, at first, you're like, I didn't want it.
Fireball shots are never a bad idea. Come on.
Never. Like, this is going to be fun.
Tastes like Christmas.
Yeah, and it's something that we like to do.
Trying to be festive.
And it's something that we like to do on Sundays. And it is Sunday Fun Day! Everybody. Here's our first question of the day. Is Melvin Gordon going to be picking up the check for everyone today?
I think so. I mean, running backs against the Jaguars, that's found money. I mean, like, all this extra change he's going to have in his pocket from running up and down the field on the Jaguars and getting in the end zone, it's going to be plenty to, you can even get, an extra mimosa or two, because it's going to be that big a day for Melvin.
Does the same go for Eckler as well?
I think so, but like you mentioned, Marcus, Melvin Gordon's role has just been so good over the last couple weeks, and this Jags run defense is so bad. I think Eckler can be a fine flex play, but this is really the spot for Gordon.
I agree. Jacksonville's allowed a top 12 running back in 4 straight games. They couldn't be in a better position.
Player I worry about Hunter Henry, though, and I'm curious because all the red zone production could end up going to the running backs, especially Melvin Gordon, but we shall see. What about Patrick Mahomes? He's got a tough matchup this week against the New England Patriots, but can he bring home the bacon from New England?
Absolutely. Start Patrick Mahomes with confidence this week. Like, unless you have Lamar Jackson, you're playing Patrick Mahomes. In 2 previous meetings against the Patriots, Mahomes has averaged over 9.5 yards per attempt, which is just insane. And I know the Patriots have been really good all season long, but the Chiefs have the weapons and the quarterback to beat and stretch this defense out. I think the Chiefs are going to go into Foxborough and win today.
I do too, and I think that the way for the Chiefs to do that is to expose the fact that the Patriots can no longer go down the field and score as quickly as the Patriots just can't do it.
Their
like the
offense
way
is-
that the Chiefs
this is
can.
not
And
the
so
same
what they're going to
offense.
have to do is put Patrick Mahomes in a position to succeed and throw to those receivers and have a really big day, and then kind of control the clock in the second half.
I'm with you.
I agree with all that. What about Derrick Henry? You mentioned him just a moment ago. Is he going to be popping bottles of sparkling cider, of course?
Of
Marcus?
course.
That's what we do here.
Yeah, that's what we do here. It's way too sweet, but Derrick Henry is going to continue his run of dominance here. In 3 straight games, he's gone well over 100 yards. It's just a lock for a touchdown every single week. And the Raiders were playing really good run defense in the first half of the season, but that started to slip here recently, and it's just in time for Henry to go into Oakland and have another monster game.
Well, plus what we talked about earlier, I mean, the volume especially is going to be there because this is still a run-centric offense. For as good as Ryan Tannehill's been, they're not going to let him throw the football 30, 35 times. I mean, if they do, something went wrong for them today.
Absolutely.
See, I still see the Raiders winning this game. I don't know. Maybe I'm a hater.
That could
Who
be
knows?
good for Tannehill, though.
Who knows? Yeah, that could actually work out in
I
his
kind of love
benefit.
this Tannehill Cinderella story that's going on in Tennessee. I think it's great. Him and Derrick Henry have just been holding down this offense, and it's kind of resurged their entire team.
Yeah, at least they got to Derrick Henry before Week 14 this season, so I think that's been a benefit for offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. What about Carson Wentz? Can he be the life of the party? Obviously, Monday night. He's not going to be showing up on Sunday, so he's sleeping in, but he's going to be the guy who has the Mondays. Hey, where is everybody? But I think that this could be a great opportunity for him against the Giants.
Yeah, he's coming off his first 3-touchdown game since Week 4 last week against Miami, and obviously Miami is a team that you can do that against, except so is the Giants. They've allowed 19 fantasy points to quarterbacks in 5 straight games. it's a very favorable matchup for him here.
No, I agree. I mean, the Giants defense not particularly great. This is a game that the Eagles have to have, especially after really just blowing one last week against the Dolphins. They got to have this. And their running game hasn't been great since Jordan Howard went down, so I think that this puts a lot more pressure on Carson Wentz to go out and perform.
How crazy is it the Eagles could lose to the Dolphins and then still win the NFC East? Like, they could go 7-9 and still win that division.
Well,
the Cowboys lost
to the
Jets. So
I know.
like,
It
is one of those things, too. I know that last week they looked and they saw the Cowboys lose on Thanksgiving, still went out and lost to the Dolphins. But I trust Doug Peterson more than I trust Jason Garrett.
Oh, yeah,
I agree.
And that's
fair.
Isn't that what it comes down to?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that is that for Sunday Funday. Coming up, we'll be answering your fantasy questions. Plus, we'll get you our Week 14 Watchmen. You're watching NFL Fantasy League One presented by Geico.
Party.
Time now for 15 for 15, presented by Geico. And let's answer some of the fans' questions out there. And we'll start with Daniel Ponders, who wants to know Benny Snell or Darwin Thompson.
I think I'm going Snell here.
Snell. I don't want any part of that Chiefs backfield.
Thompson could have a problem because of pass protection. I think they'll rely on LaShawn McCoy a little bit. Ken Bond wants to know, pick two, Sterling Shepard, Alshon Jeffrey, Manny Sanders, or A.J. Brown.
Ooh,
Alshon for sure.
Yeah,
Alshon for sure.
Alshon and Shep maybe?
I think I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Colin Robson wants to know Mike Williams, D.D. Westbrook, Kenyon Drake, or Zach Pascal.
It sounds counterintuitive, but maybe Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, the touches have been there.
Just touches,
The
right?
touches have been there. I think that's the right play.
Yeah.
I'm feeling Kenyon Drake as well. Jenna wants to know, I'm number one in a league of guys. Good for you, Jenna. James White, Austin Eckler, or Chris Carson? Well, that's obviously why. No kidding. Great team.
My goodness.
This feels like a James White. I don't know.
I like Chris
But we could also see Sony Michel get 20 carries, you know?
That is the hardest question of the week.
I think it's...
We know that we just discussed that we thought that Melvin Gordon was going to get more than Austin Eckler, so he's
Chris
probably
Carson.
not.
I think it's Carson.
So I think we talked ourselves into Chris Carson here.
Let's go with Carson there, Jenna. All right, Ange wants to know Hunter Henry or Zach Ertz.
He probably just he had like a random person send this question
I still
in just
think
to
it's
bring up
Hunter Henry. Like, I'm concerned about the
course you
Dallas
do.
Goedert situation.
Yeah.
That's where
The
we
Giants have actually been really tough against tight ends this year too.
I think I might stick with Ertz, but that's a really tough call. Yeah.
Trust Graham. I don't know why. He's not.
Definitely don't.
Jeremy Mercer wants to know Philip Lindsay or Raheem Mostert. I think Lindsay.
Yes, for sure.
Breeda's back, no Mostert.
Jeremy, that's an easy one. Theodore McNeil II. If Josh Jacobs can't go, Darwin Thompson or Darius Geis?
Guys, for sure, guys. Yeah.
Brandon Jansen wants to know Miles Sanders or Kenny Golladay?
Kenny Golladay?
I think I like Sanders just on
I know.
volume.
Yeah, without Jordan Howard, I think so too. But Golladay, I love, you mentioned Golladay at the top. He has so much upside this
I would
week.
like to know his receivers that he can't play Golladay, but I think Sanders is going to be our...
It's a coin flip, but I think I land on Sanders.
Well, no, I just hope that Golladay has a better game.
Brian Nichols, Jarvis Landry, Cortland Sutton, or Hunter Henry?
Landry.
Landry for sure.
Yeah, this is a big
Ricky
game.
Stratton, or Ricky Stanton, excuse me. Tyler Lockett or OBJ?
I've been on Tyler Lockett this week, man. Like, I can't quit
way.
Tyler Lockett.
I
yet.
can't rely on OBJ.
Tyler Lockett. Okay, Stevie wants to know Tyler Higbee or Vance McDonald?
I'm going
Higbee.
Higbee. Yep.
Higgs.
All right, well, that was 15 for 15 presented by Geico. And time now for our Week 14 Watchmen players that we are going to be watching this week. And Marcus, why don't you get us started with a Patriots running back?
Yeah, I know, Sony Michel. We were just debating Sony Michel versus James White. I feel this is a situation where if you are the Patriots, so much has been made about your offense the last couple of weeks, especially your wide receiver core. Plus, you don't want to get in a track meet with this Chiefs offense. I think they can give the ball to Sony Michel against a bad Chiefs run defense, move the football effectively, and keep Patrick Mahomes standing on the sideline more often than not. So I think this is sort of the way to go. This is that week. But Sony Michel's had 2 20-point games all season long. Today could potentially be a third one for him.
Taylor, you have your eye on the quarterback?
I do. I like Devlin the Duck Hodges. He has totally resurged this Steelers team, and he's got a favorable matchup today going up against the Cardinals. I think that he's kind of in those must-win situations on the Steelers team right now where they're still in the hunt for the playoffs. Him, Benny Snell, and James Washington, we were talking about it earlier this week. There's something going on between Devlin and James Washington. Their chemistry is through the roof, so I think he's going to have a great game today. He's somebody I'm definitely keeping my eye on.
I'm playing our friend Neil Dutton in the league, and I'm starting Duck Hodges. You know what, though? I'm going to talk about Darwin Thompson here for a moment. I mentioned it a second ago. It really comes down to pass protection. Now, I really do believe that they're going to lean on LaShawn McCoy, but I'm really interested to see how much usage Darwin Thompson is going to get because this could be a situation that lingers. Obviously, Darrell Williams is out for the rest of the year. Damian Williams might not come back for the fantasy playoffs. So if Thompson can go out there, I'm not starting him, but I'm going to watch him and see his usage. Graham, who are you looking at? You got a running back from the Steelers?
Yeah, Benny Snell. I mean, we were mentioning him at the top here of the show. You know, this Cardinals defense is extremely flammable. And I'm with you, Taylor. I think Devlin Hodges and their pass offense is going to do some things today. And if they do, that's going to give Snell more red zone opportunities. And since James Conner has been out, he's seen 16 or more carries in back-to-back games. And, you know, the volume has been there. I think he gets in the end zone today.
All right. I love Benny Snell as well. And so let's get through some of these other ones. Devin Singletary or Ronald Jones?
Singletary.
Singletary.
You can't play Ronald Jones.
I just can't trust a Bucs running back.
You can shoot Ronald Jones off your... Anyways, Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson?
L-Jax.
Yeah.
I think Lamar Jackson starts regardless.
Yeah,
I don't think he can ever bench him.
Like
Jamison Crowder or OBJ?
Crowder.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Crowder.
And let's see.
This is where we are, by the way, in 2019. That this is
right. Yeah,
like Crowder's gonna have a really good game today.
That is so. Yeah, I'm with you as well. And then Brandon Spin Spencer needs some help at tight end. Vance McDonald, Tyler Higbee, Caden Smith, Jacob Hollister. I mean, he's got a lot of great options.
Yeah, a lot of options.
Ryan Griffin.
Why
don't you guys like Vance McDonald?
Higbee.
I do like McDonald. I just think that Higbee has a higher ceiling than McDonald.
Gerald Everett
is out. Hey,
Tyler Higbee's going to get it all.
There it is. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you watching. We will be back at 7:45 p.m. Eastern before the Monday Night Football game. And that one is going to be great. Eagles and Giants. This was NFL Fantasy League 1 presented by Geico. And we will see you all later. Good luck here in the fantasy playoffs.